All right, we are going to do a fender mod on this 2015 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. As far as the fender mod goes, it's pretty much the same for 1500s and 2500s. So let's get into it. All right, so this truck has a 6-inch kit and 35s. The lift kit's coming off, and for that reason, it's gonna end up needing a fender mod for these tires to be able to turn. So I'm just getting ahead of it, and I'm gonna do it before the lift kit comes off so that there's zero drama when it goes to drive away. So this whole area in here is gonna get pushed back. Similar to like what you've seen me do back in the 454 days. So I'll set up a camera and kind of show you what I do. So for the most part, this thing's kind of at a 90 degree. So like if you were to line up with the body and kind of see this gap, you know, it's about 90 degrees. So just this is for kind of beginning reference, and then I'll show you what it's like afterwards. Okay, we're gonna start off by jacking up the truck, getting the wheels and tires off just so we have plenty of room and clearance in there to start working on it. Okay, I'm going to take this plastic molding off. These are Torx head, and you just loosen these off and gently pull this down without breaking the clips behind it. Then we'll take this inner liner, pull it back, and probably use a bungee to hold it out of the way so we can access this whole area better. Just a quick note, once you pulled out these screws, if you kind of push this thing back a little bit, I know it sounds crazy because this is here, if you push it back a little bit, these slide right off these without breaking them. So you can reuse that. All right, so once you've got the liner unscrewed enough that you can kind of pull it back, get a bungee on it, just hold it out of your way. You can then access all the area that's going to be trimmed. So this insulation, sound deadening, firewall crap, it's all stuffed behind here. I like to pull it out as much as I can, and then I'm going to cut it along here and then stuff the other stuff back in there and just eliminate all this, because the way I do the mod, this is going to be up against metal, so there will be no place for this anyways. Just figured I'd share this part of it because some people kind of don't know what to do with it. All right, so here what we want to do is make a cut down into this spot right here, where you're actually basically separating the sheet metal from this lower piece and this upper piece. It's not really important exactly how or where you cut this. I'm just gonna kind of loosely use this Sharpie to make a line, so I'm gonna cut it with a cutoff wheel and just loosely follow that line. This will get pushed back, this will get folded out of the way while we cut all of this, and then this will get folded back up again. So stay tuned on that, but just go ahead and make this cut. At this point, what you're trying to do is change the angle. It used to be that 90 we talked about early in the video with the square. Now we're taking this back. This used to be out here, so we're pushing it back. Well, this is an experiment with these channel locks. We'll see. Oh yeah, it's working. So what I've done is I've cut this out of the way, which was supporting this corner. So now this whole pinch seam can be bent out of the way. So every so often throughout the job, just to keep yourself in perspective, sometimes I will take the liner and I'll put it back down and kind of see where it lands, just to give me an idea of keeping my bearings and making sure I'm trimming and modifying in the right direction. So now I'm going to use channel locks to bend this up. It's time to use a hammer. So this is pretty crude, but it's a good way to give you an idea of how different and how many different ways you can do this. I know it looks all beat up, but I clean it up with a flapper, I throw paint on it, and it, man, what a difference in clearance this has. You know, cut all this excess off. I'll probably cut this piece off because why not? But this gives you the idea of the hammer method versus the cut method. All right, so I did cut off that little bit of extra metal that I had on there. You saw on the previous screen. Then you did miss a little bit of hammer time here, but now you get the idea. This used to be here with my finger. See the difference? I know this looks horrible. I've seen all these other Fender mod videos and they look just like this, just hammer time, but this is all senseless, useless sheet metal down here anyways. So it'll all be covered, it'll all be painted, it'll all be fine. All right, so I've thrown on some paint just for anti-corrosion protection. Doesn't matter what color it is, all you're doing is trying to keep something from getting to the sheet metal and starting to rust. All right, so now I'm putting the liner back down and I'm gonna start putting the screws in all the way around, and then I'll show you what I do about this section down here. So to get this to go in, we will cut along here and then cut over here and make a pie, and we'll remove all this plastic so that this can fold in to this line, and then this will reattach to the body. So this will fold in. So to mark this, I kind of put it back in place, and you don't want to cut it so high. You don't want to cut it so high that you see it. So you got to make sure it's down under there. So I usually make a mark where I know it won't be seen from the outside. So there's that little black mark I made, and I will I'll cut it all along here to that mark, and then I'm going to cut it from here, which is super severe. Let's start off here. Can always cut more, right? So that'll be my triangle that I take out of it. If we need more, we'll take out more. All right, so moment of truth on my first cut. And by the way, if you see me, hesitating or figuring stuff out as I go along, I haven't done one of these in probably 3 years. And even when I was, my guys were doing most of the work. So I'm having to kind of remember, plus all the different year, make, and model trucks. I've been doing mostly Raptor fender mods. So bear with me. So this is pretty much in the factory location there. And then watch this. When you push in on this, see how it's still gonna have that nice, clean, flowy look? Nothing chopped, nothing hacked up and cut. That's what we're going for. So I do heat this area up with a heat gun so I can bend this over and have it sit there naturally so it's not fighting the whole time that it's installed and wanting to pop off. Plastic has memory, so change this memory to here and it'll sit there more relaxed and fit better. So like I said, I'll clean all this up, I'll heat this up, I'll get it on there and show you how I attach it. All right, so this wasn't rocket science, but I bent this over and held it in place, and then heated up along here on both sides from here to here, and just held it, kind of creased it over. It gets hot, so be careful if you're pushing on this. And now look, its memory is to stay here now. So it'll look like this when it's all said and done, so you won't see any of that down there. But that's the idea. All right, remember my original inclination was to cut from here to here. I just remembered why. When you put this back on and you push this in, you see this hanging down here. And that's why I cut that off. So I'm gonna go from here to here. So these clips that were in here, you want to take these out and you got to pry them out. I broke this one getting it out because kind of just what happens with how brittle and old these get. And then slide them back in place here. It kind of clicks in place like that. So now when you go to put it on, you're not trying to slide it and center it. You can literally just pop it in. So I'm gonna grab another one of these and then we'll get this in place. All right, I found a clip. I don't think it was a Chevy one, but I found one. All right, so the final bolt to install or screw is this one. That's where it's gonna go. And in the interest of having all the hardware match, I am going to drill a hole and then thread this into that hole, see how that works before I switch over to using a self-tapper. I do have black self-tappers, but I'm gonna give this a shot. See if I can make the factory hardware work. It's gotta be a nice tight fit, or I will switch over to a self-tapper. Well, that worked famously. I just drilled a hole and used the factory screw. And now it all looks factory, no hacking, no cutting, nothing visual that anyone can tell. All right, let's see where we're at here comparatively to the beginning of the video. See that difference? That's the difference it makes, tires rubbing or not.